And there's other sides of branding that often get overlooked.
Marketing efforts need to adapt in every single way to this new landscape.
Find those insights that will really help tie your brand and your brand values with a human truth that will really resonate with your consumer.
A company needs to stand for something. A brand needs to stand for something. Because if you're saying something that nobody cares about, what's the point of saying it?
Bird's Eye View.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bird's Eye View. Really excited to talk to you today. We're going to talk about what brands are doing right and wrong, authentically or inauthentically, in times like today. It's a creative strategy perspective. It's something that we need to think about. It's something that we need to talk about from a brand evolution standpoint. And there's nobody better to talk to about that type of stuff than Skylar's very own creative strategist, Katelyne Merza. Katelyne, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Katelyne, you're our creative strategist. We're going to talk to you about creative strategy, but we're also going to talk to you about your Skylar story and your dog Pepperoni. You good with that?
Yeah, excellent. Excited.
Right. So many people think they know what being a creative strategist entails. It's creative strategy, but it's actually far more complicated than that. You want to give your insight into your role at Skylar?
Yeah, sure. So at Skylar, if you've worked with us before, you'll know that we really value strategy at the core of a lot of our creative work. And that's where I fit in as a creative strategist. When I'm working on a project, my main job is to really listen, soak in all the information, and then be curious about that information. I like to dive right into the minds of the target audience and, find those insights that will really help tie your brand and your brand values with a human truth that will really resonate with your consumer. And that together creates really successful work in terms of a marketing or branding project. So having that great strategy at the core will lead to compelling creative and overall success of a marketing project.
Yeah, and I guess it's so important, right? We talk about it a lot that like so many designers can design pretty things, but what's an effective design, right? Who are we talking to? What are we saying to them? So why is it important for a brand to have a good strategy behind everything they do?
So if you start your brand with, just a pretty logo, for example, you're going to be in trouble because that might not mean anything to your target audience. Your brand is a really good opportunity for you to distinguish yourself from your competitors and clarify to your consumers why you're the better choice. Having a cohesive brand strategy will help communicate those aspects to your customers, and it will help form, what you want them to think and feel about your brand or your product or your service. And it'll help form their opinions on that. And at the end of the day, retain them as customers. There's other sides of branding that often get overlooked. For example, having a strong brand can also improve employee pride and satisfaction. Having something the rest of your team can rally behind and stand behind can improve company morale and lead to more productive work on your end. So there's more than just, a pretty logo at the end of the day. There's so many facets and so many layers to branding. And we really look through each step of those layers, and thinking through that will really help create a more effective brand strategy.
Yeah, I think we do spend a lot of time thinking about how a brand, and it's not just the visual side of things, but also the messaging side of things, how that would be absorbed by all of the stakeholders in any business, in any brand, right? And every business is different. Every business has a different type of audience. So yeah, not to toot our own horn, but we do spend maybe even sometimes too much time on strategy, but we'd rather get that right than build something that, like what you said, is pretty, but not effective, right?
100%.
So at Skylar, creative strategy, what projects have you enjoyed working on? You've obviously touched almost every project that we've had come through our doors in the last few years. So tell me.
Yeah. So, honestly, I was thinking about this for a while, and it's a really hard question to answer specifically because I really do feel kind of the same level of pride for every project that we work on. And this type of career for me is really fulfilling personally because, we get to be really creative and make something, and then we get to launch it, watch it flourish, and then get to see the results. Did it work or did it not work? And we're always learning new things about it. And, even when we get some sort of project that, I might not resonate with right away, it might be something that I'm not currently interested. For example, we are currently working on a really exciting project for the Canadian Welding Bureau. So I've never welded before. I have know nothing about that industry. But once I started diving into it, it's actually, you get that creativity gets rolling, and you tend to get excited about any client and any project that you work on at the end of the day. For most of the projects that I work on, even if we do hit roadblocks when it's launched, there's a huge sense of pride that makes me kind of forget those challenges. And I get that sense of pride, and I enjoy pretty much everything that we work on.
I know you particularly, all of a sudden you become this welding expert and not just you. I mean, we have other people as well that really immerse themselves in the project, but we know more about welding and trucks and doors and some of the other things because those are the projects that we get from our clients. And at the end of the day, that's really the only way to build that proper strategy, is to understand what the audience is feeling and thinking and going through in their decision-making process. We talk a lot about it on Bird's Eye View. The world's changing. We talk about it a lot at work as well. Marketing efforts need to adapt in every single way to this new landscape, whether it's the health crisis, whether it's societal crises. It seems like in a lot of ways, many of the businesses that are making a mark right now are the ones that they're either taking a controversial stance, which is a ballsy move, but it's something that they're doing, or they're adopting societal initiatives, but in a way that they can authentically align. But there's a lot of companies that can't or won't do either one of those. So can a brand gain momentum right now from a marketing perspective if they're not able or willing to do either of those things?
I think it's really important that a brand needs to, reflect back on their own brand strategy and their own brand values. And if they can find a connection between their values as a brand and what's going on in the world today, whether that's a social justice issue, if they can find that tie, they should definitely communicate that tie and stand behind something good, because you're really showing your audience that you really believe your own values and you're willing to stand behind something. But if you try to stand behind something that doesn't really align with your brand values, it can come off as unauthentic. Consumers nowadays are getting a little bit smarter about that, and they can kind of pick out certain brands that, put something out that seems unauthentic or seems like they're just trying too hard to jump on some sort of bandwagon. And then for companies that maybe they don't have that background and they don't have that value in place that can really stand behind something, I think that it's really important that they take a step back and take a look and try to determine what those values are, and then take that stand and communicate that stand and develop that even further.
It's getting to the point now where outside of the Amazons of the world and some of these other big conglomerates, a company needs to stand for something. A brand needs to stand for something. And I think that lacking that, regardless of how much of let's say a chokehold you have on your market, I think what we'll see longer term is that those companies will eventually start to drop off in favor of the ones that have an authentic either cause that they can support or just authentic values that their audience resonates with.
For sure.
So if we talked about it just, a new viewer, new audience, somebody that's never worked with us before, what advice would you give them as far as what they would need to think about as far as putting together a strategy for a marketing project?
Yeah, for sure. I think when it comes to strategy, research is key. I believe in investing in some market research can really help you understand your consumer and knowing what they want to see, and that will help elevate your strategy. And if you can give your audience what they want, then your whole project or whatever you're trying to put forth will be successful. And the term market research can sound a little bit expensive or complicated to some companies, but it doesn't have to be. Like, you can create customer surveys. If you have the type of business where your customers are coming in and out, go downstairs and talk to them and see what they have to say about your brand, your product, your service, and use what they tell you to improve your strategies. And, you'd be surprised what kind of really cool insights you can get talking to them. And those can really help drive your strategy at the end of the day.
And we even see a lot of insights coming from other employees at a company that a marketing director or marketing manager may not think to talk to sometimes, but they may have their own insights from the things that they see from a different perspective that, again, it's always about perspective, right? And so getting everybody's may offer some insights in developing something like that. But I think you left out the most important part is they should call us first, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's been great, Katelyne. It's been insightful. I wanted just to ask quickly about, you have a unique experience at Skylar. You've been here for much of our transition from when we were once upon a time a printing company, to then an agency, but maybe not a full service agency, to now a full service agency with a focus on digital. Talk about where you started, where you are now, and what's your Skylar story?
I went to school for communications thinking that I wanted to be a radio broadcaster. But then when I tried that out, it really just wasn't the right move for me. I started a job in customer service, pretty basic. And I worked with someone who was in the marketing department of that place. And I was so intrigued with what she had to do on a day-to-day basis. I love the creativity behind it. I loved thinking through strategies, and I kind of wiggled my way up into her position at that company, and I did a lot of marketing work on a more organic level. And then I was headhunted by Skylar one day. So I started off at Skylar at a more entry-level position, which matched my experience at the time. I was super eager to learn and really excited to get my foot in the door of a marketing agency. And then I was just learning along the way, kind of trying to find my place there. And, Skylar really gave me the opportunity to grow. I pretty much grew with Skylar. And then I also had the opportunity to go back to school for strategy at Miami Ad School. So that's kind of where I got put into that strategy position from doing that. And yeah, it's been really great and I love it.
So I guess what I learned from that is that if you find a job that's intriguing, that person in that job has to be careful.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've told me that you found my job intriguing. I guess I better watch my back. What's the biggest change that you've seen? I guess, a quick answer.
Yeah, well, when I started at Skylar, in the studio, there was me and 3 other people. It went from being a really quiet, really tiny group to a really collaborative team, which has been really fun. When I first started at Skylar, I think our company culture was still evolving, and it was I remember it being so quiet when I came in, and I remember you used to play the Sirius radio station Chill 24/7, and I swear that station only has 6 songs on it, and I was kind of losing my mind. My first 3-month review, I was like, I really like it here, but if I have to listen to Chill every single day, I don't think I'm gonna make it very much longer. So we changed to Spotify, and ever since, I've had no problem. And then we started filling up the chairs, and we became a lot more collaborative, and we really distinguish our company culture, which I think has been really fun. We have such a fun team. So yeah, it's been great.
Good. Well, and I'm glad you've been a part of it. As you know, we end off Bird's Eye View by asking a funny story of, working from home. Obviously, since middle of March, you've been there. Any funny stories that have happened to you during the process?
One of the things I find really entertaining about working from home is kind of, we go on these webcam interactions with clients, with coworkers, and, you get to kind of see a peek into their home life a little bit, and you'll see their kids running around in the background. For me, I don't have children, but I have 3 pets, and my dog specifically, Pepperoni, she is a rescue dog, and she does have a little bit of that separation anxiety within her. And I feel like since I've been home so much, it's gotten a little bit worse, and I have been in meetings many times where she's literally has to sit this close to my face, and she just stares me down while I'm trying to have a serious conversation with people. I think it's pretty funny to see that. I think it's happening to everybody, so it's not frowned upon as much as it might have been before. But I find it really funny to see those kinds of things happening.
I think at the very beginning, when a couple things happened like that, not just to you, but even to a couple other people, I kind of cringed, right? It was like, oh, I don't know if that looks professional. At this point now, it's almost like it breaks up the meeting. It makes it a little bit more lighthearted for a second. We laugh and then we get back to business. So I think it's okay. So let Pepperoni jump on you if she wants. Katelyne, listen, it was great having you on. I think, and I hope everybody learned a little bit about why strategy is important. Right now, especially, it's so important. Think beyond just the look and the feel. Think about what you're saying. Think about how you're saying it. Think about why you're saying it. And think about if people actually care about what you're saying. I think that maybe is the most important thing. Because if you're saying something that nobody cares about, what's the point of saying it, right? Thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope you found that insightful. We're going to talk some more about that, about what brands need to do to come out of, the other side of what's going on right now in the world on top, and continue to progress, whether that's a language standpoint, from a messaging standpoint, from a creative design, brand, digital. There's so many variables to think about. And I think that it's really important that we talk a little bit more about them here, just to get those thoughts into your mind and make sure that you can check all those boxes. If you can't check those boxes, our phone number is below. Give us a call. Thanks very much for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bird's Eye View.